Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle. My co-host should be joining me here soon, hopefully within the next hour. I know this storm today is kind of taking everybody by the wayside, but the Burgundy Zone is a part of the Frederick Podcast Network. You can find out more by going to www.listenfrederick.com. And this episode is called Homeward Bound for a very good reason, not only because of preseason game on Friday, opening up against the Browns, but also we're going to the training camp tomorrow. Very excited to do that. But to joining us for this episode, none other than me, Mr. Nick Akridge from Pro Football Focus. How are you doing this beautiful, stormy evening, sir?
Yeah, beautiful is an interesting choice there. I'm good, man. I'm good.
It's always good to see nature in its full effect. You know, lightning scaring you and thunder making you jump a little bit whenever it freaks you out, but it always makes you feel alive. And that being said, talking about that, the depth chart came out today, the unofficial depth chart. And before we get into the real nitty-gritty of it, there's a couple surprises for me personally. Quan Martin was labeled as the backup outside corner behind Kendall Fuller. That was surprising to me. Is that surprising to you?
Yeah, I'm hoping that's not true, as in, like, they just listed him as a backup corner. He played almost entirely in the slot and safety and in the box and stuff, barely played outside. I mean, hey, maybe he's even better as an outside corner. We don't really know. We haven't seen him play in the NFL. But yeah, no, that one was weird to me. I noticed the same thing. So yeah, we'll just see how that plays out.
Yeah, to me, Nick, it almost, because when he was at Illinois, they talked about how he could play outside corner in like emergency situations. I think there was one start that Quan Martin had out at outside corner because they had injuries to that position. This almost seems eerily similar to like when Sam Cosmi came in here and they tried him at left tackle just because they knew most likely he wouldn't be able to, but just to see if he can. Do you kind of get that feeling?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, like I said, we don't know what they see. I mean, we can get some clips and whatnot, but we don't really see what they see. If they think he's better suited outside, then I'm going to trust them over what I've just seen on college tape. But he definitely was a guy that played everywhere. Like, he can play multiple positions, so that's never a problem. And the way they play defense, a lot of these guys they're moving around a lot, so it's not like you're ever really staying in one specific spot.
I got you. And then one surprising thing from this week was Sadiq Charles was injured. So Chris Paul was getting the starts at left guard ahead of him while he was sitting out with his injury. Talk to me about Chris Paul. What did you see on film against Dallas last season? Are there some things that you saw that you were excited about to say he can be a starter and be productive?
Yeah, he's an athletic guy, and that's always a good place to start when you're talking about offensive linemen. Obviously, the mental side of the game is something that he's going to have to work on. There were some moments in the Dallas game, if I'm remembering correctly, where he was, just kind of out of his element, handling some games and stunts and stuff like that. But again, that just kind of comes with more reps in the NFL. But athletic wise, he's a very good athlete. So that's the right step. I'm pretty interested to see who kind of comes out on top at that left guard spot. I think it's going to be a pretty close race.
Yeah, and it's going to be very intriguing to see how that goes down. Our boy Tyler Larson was listed as the backup center behind Nick Gates. That's always one of those competitions. Also, Ricky Stromberg there that you keep your eye on.
That was surprising to me. I'm a huge Ricky Stromberg fan. I think I mentioned it here before. I mentioned it on Twitter before. So that one kind of surprised me that he's third. But yeah, no, that was interesting to me.
I wonder how much they really do screw with us with these sort of things. But I want to get your
Right.
concern level with injuries thus far. Injuries is not something that we are foreign to here in Washington, especially over the past couple seasons. It's been a catastrophic injury after another. Talk to me about the level of concern for you with the injuries regarding right now. Emmanuel Forbes was sat out, I think, like one practice. He was back today, actually doing individual drills and actually was doing pretty well. But talk to me about the other ones. Obviously, Sadiq Charles, Logan Thomas is currently not practicing as well.
Yeah, you always hate the soft tissue injuries that kind of happen already without them even really playing a game, like the hamstrings, the calves, those sort of things where they're kind of nagging injuries that kind of hang around the whole season and they don't really ever get back to 100%. But, knock on wood, we have not had a devastating, debilitating injury yet. I know I can't wait for tomorrow's news apparently because I just jinxed it. So, um, but yeah, I mean, I think they're kind of small injuries right now, and they're just playing it safe. I mean, as you kind of should this early in the season. So nothing too concerning right now for me. Um, but I mean, Sadiq Charles has had a problem with injuries in the past, so it's tough to kind of see him, without we even playing a game, kind of back on the injury list.
And talk to me about these chippy practices that has been going on this week. Me personally, playing the game, loving the game of football, you know that if you go against somebody every single day, you're going to build up animosity. There's going to be, especially on those hot days, man, everyone's pissed off. Nobody likes to be sweating profusely. That being said, are you kind of concerned at all with these chippy practices, or is this par for the course?
No, I prefer it honestly.
Me
I'd
too.
rather have them beat a little upset. If you're not upset at the other guy, then you're not hitting them hard enough. So that's kind of the way I look at it, and that's why you see all these joint practices that get. That's when the brawls happen. Is when the joint practices happen because they're not your teammates. So that's when you really start hitting them.
Yeah, and if you're not getting pissed off, then somebody isn't winning enough, right?
Yep.
Because obviously the competition level isn't high enough, so you're either getting your butt kicked or you're doing the butt whooping. That's why there's no fights going on. Next question I have for you: this game coming up on Friday against the Cleveland Browns? Obviously, we don't know who's going to play. We could kind of make assumptions, but just from the grand view, what are you looking for on Friday? Are there some certain positions that you're going to be keeping an eye on? Maybe some certain players.
Yeah, offensive line. I mean, I don't think anyone's really solidified. I mean, we know that it was a big area of concern last year, and I think everyone should kind of be on notice, I guess you could say. So just kind of see how that shakes out, how people play. But the biggest thing is injuries. Like, just get out of the game healthy. It's preseason. You want to see a few things. Um, but biggest thing is get out of there healthy, and then we can worry about position battles and look at stuff like that. I think the biggest thing for me week one is seeing where they play guys that you assume are going to start on week one in the NFL or the regular season, and seeing where they put them. So, like for example, like who plays in the slot, who's playing the nickel, who's playing safety, who's playing left guard, stuff like that. That's the stuff that really kind of intrigues me.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how Cole Turner does, because most likely Logan Thomas, sitting out of practice this week, is not going to be playing on Friday, and I would expect that Cole Turner would have a run, if not with the ones, with the twos. I'm really excited to see how he has shaped out. What have you heard about Cole Turner so far at training camp, or what has been your impression?
Well, I mean, coming out of college, was a receiving specialist. I mean, he's just a massive human being, and if you can refine route running, which is always probably the toughest part to do, he has a massive catch radius. He's the type of red zone target you think of. It's just it's an added threat, and we've needed a tight end for the longest time. I mean, we've been struggling with tight end, and then Logan Thomas injury problems. I mean, it's tough. So you'd love to see someone like Cole Turner step up, and he's got the talent receiving wise. I just don't know how much blocking they'll be asking of him.
Yeah, you and Reed both need a tight end for a very, very long time. Now let's talk about a little bit. Because I'm so sorry that I have to ask you this question, Nick, because I find it utterly ridiculous. But do you think that Eric Bieniemy is a little bit too abrasive, a little bit too harsh, and too early in his coaching tenure here in Washington as OC?
Yeah. So I saw that on Twitter. Where I don't know where it started, but why does that? I don't know why that matters. I mean,
So what I'm guessing here, just conspiracy theory mind, is that person is making a connection between the chippy practices and Eric Bieniemy's kind of attitude towards coaching.
it's quite the reach, yeah.
Yes.
But no, I mean, we've kind of known that about Bieniemy. If you ever listen to any of his former players, they always talk about he's going to get after you. Like, if you're not lined up right, he will chew you out. So yeah, that doesn't bother me at all. I mean, weird thing to kind of reach at, but I guess it's still August, so gotta talk about something.
Yeah, to be perfectly honest with you, I think there's not enough of it. It's something that we've been missing here in Washington for quite some time. So I'm happy to see somebody actually come in authority and actually enforce that authority. I really do appreciate seeing it. Want to get your opinion. Dyami Brown has really blown up this training camp, has done a great job. I've asked you about him so many times over the course of this offseason. Just because if Sam Howell's starting, the immediate go-to is that Dyami Brown is going to get more looks just because of the combination, the comfortability between quarterback and wide receiver. What have you heard about Diami Brown, and do you think that he's actually going to make some pretty big noise this year?
I've been fooled multiple times by buying into training camp hype with wide receivers before. I'm not going to do it again.
Okay.
I'm going to wait to see what actually happens. In the preseason, if it's the preseason and he's actually torching guys and getting open and stuff like that, then you'll have me buy into stuff. But I've seen this past couple seasons, it's been a struggle for him to get open. So I'm not buying into any training camp hype yet. It's why I kind of try to stay off Twitter, because you see all these clips of just one-on-ones, and
Dude,
it takes them.
Nick, that blows
It takes
my
him like
mind.
6 seconds to get open, and it's like people are freaking out because he finally shook him after 6 seconds, and like that. None of it makes any just everyone just loves football so much. They want to talk about something. They want to watch football. They want to, and it's just, for me, it's just like I couldn't care less about training camp stuff.
Yeah, I'm not trying to hate on anybody. All I'm saying is, if you're producing clips of like 7-on-7 and, like you said, the one-on-ones, it really isn't realistic. Like, this isn't flag football. You still have big, huge dudes in front of you trying to save your life, because there's 4 guys most likely trying to rip your head off. And you don't have to worry about that on 7-on-7s. I think 11-on-11s is much more predictable. I think is much more of a better meter to be able to gauge that. What is your...
It's just, I mean, to keep going off the training camp practice, it's just tough because we don't know what they're trying to work on. Like, we're not in on the, the practice plans and stuff like that. We don't know what they're looking for and what they're trying to actually improve on. So to kind of make judgments off of that is something that I've always kind of, steered away from, and just wait till we see it on, an actual game.
I got you. Now, we talked about Cole Turner. We talked about Diami Brown. What are the biggest surprises from training camp so far?
Biggest surprises. That's tough because, like I just said, I don't really pay attention much to training camp stuff. I mean, it's just,
okay. It's fair.
I'm waiting for preseason games, and that's when I can start, firing off the takes. Wait for the preseason, and that's when the takes start flying. But for right now, it kind of seems pretty straightforward. I mean, just looking at the depth chart, like I said, there were a few surprises, but nothing really stood out too much, I'd say.
I got you. I would say that we already talked about him, but I think Chris Paul would probably be a good one to say in there, just because he solidified that left guard at the moment. Obviously, Sadiq Charles is still listed as the starter, but you never know how these things go, because I really do think that they're screwing with us a little bit. Now, I want to talk to you about Jamin Davis, because this whole thing is weirdly shaping out. People think that we're going to be possibly gone without Jamin Davis for like a month. What is your concern level with Jamin heading into this season? Do you think there's a possibility he's not going to play all 17?
It's tough. I mean, you don't really know. You don't really know the legal situation. You don't really know what's going to happen. I mean, I think it's tough to assume that he's going to be there all 17 games. I could go on a tangent about what he did and all that sort of stuff, but that's not what we're looking for. I think he made great strides the last year. He made great strides on the field, and I think losing him for any period of time is going to be tough. It's already a very, very thin linebacking crew, and so then you're going to have to look at guys like Khaleke Hudson to step up, and we've been waiting for that for a couple of years now, to just kind of vault himself on the defensive side and no longer just kind of special teams. But I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not, keen on all this sort of stuff. So I don't know what it's going to look like. But I think it might be a stretch to expect him for all 17.
Yeah, I would imagine, because you are well aware of the Commonwealth and how strict they are when it comes to these sort of things, Nick. But to wrap this up, I only have a couple more questions for you. I find this one to be very intriguing, because a lot of people, like some people, I'm not going to say a lot of people, some people will jump at the conclusion of Brissett getting the starting reps today with the ones, some of them, not all of them, just a couple of them, and they'll run and say, oh my goodness, does this mean Jacoby Brissett could oversee Sam Howell? What do you think about that working of Jacoby Brissett with the ones today at practice?
Just need all the reps. I mean, there are two guys that you can see playing time for both of them this year. I know Sam Howell fans aren't going to love that. I love Sam Howell, and I think if this team's going to go anywhere, it's going to be, him taking a huge step forward. But there's going to be moments where we've seen in the past with injuries at quarterback, and you need a backup to have those sort of reps with the ones. It's just important to have. It's why Heineke was able to step up and beat decent. I know I'm bringing up Taylor Heineke. It could hit a nerve for some people, but No, it's important to always have the backup, just kind of ready. And even if he is the backup or if he isn't the backup, you just need both of them ready to have, those reps with the ones.
I agree. Next one I have for you. We got into this in the Discord, and I know that Eric Bieniemy deserves to have some cushion. As coming in as a first-time OC here in Washington, O-line is kind of in shambles. But I still feel like the expectations for this defense should be more than what they were last season. So what are your expectations for this defense? I know it's a hard schedule, but the fact is this is a top 5 unit. How do you think that they should play out?
I think that's where they need to finish. Depends on what metric you want to use and stuff like that. But the biggest thing with
Then let
this
me
defense in the
ask you
past,
this, Nick. What is the most important metric for defense in your opinion?
PFF grade. I'm just playing. It's tough because scoring allowed is tough because you don't really know where they start. I think EPA, expected points added, is a good metric to use, and it's something that they've been tops in the past. And I feel like if they can stay top 5 again, you're going to be in every single game no matter what, and they should do that. And the biggest thing with this defense in years past is the slow starts. It's like weeks 1 through 4 where they're just getting torched and it's rough to watch. And then they flip a switch and then they're one of the best defenses in the NFL. I think you need to be at that level week 1, which is tough. I mean, it's nice that you're playing a Cardinals team, which you should beat without Kyler Murray, supposed to be one of the worst teams in the NFL. So if they get torched week 1, we're gonna have some crazy takes flying on Twitter, and it'll be interesting. But I think top 5, top 10 at minimum is what you should be looking for from this defense.
Nick, if that happened, Matt Miller would be running around yelling Colt McCoy, talking about how much better he is than Sam Howell. But we are joined by our co-host, Mr. Michael Hall. Hall, do you have any questions for Nick Akridge before we let him go and enjoy this stormy night?
Did you already ask him about the Cleveland game on Friday?
I did somewhat, not all that much, but if you want to go into more detail, that'd be great.
Well, what'd you ask him?
I asked him basically what he would be looking forward to in the Cleveland game. Maybe not a player in particular, but he said the offensive line.
Right. So I know I was listening to like 106.7 on the way home from work, and pretty much Danny Rouillet was like, "Oh, Sam Howell needs to play the whole first half of this game and take all the reps, and they shouldn't run the ball ever. If you just pass the ball every play," which I don't even know. But then I thought he was doing a bit, but then like people started calling in and like agreeing with him. I was like, "Whoa, what is going on here?" So how much do you think that Sam Howell should actually play on Friday?
I'd like to see a couple drives. I wouldn't say a whole first half. I mean, it's the first preseason game, and for a lot of these guys, just going 100% in a game is tough. It puts some strain on your body after not doing it for months and months. I mean, practice is one thing, but I would like to see a couple drives. I don't think you should throw the ball on every single play. I mean, I think the run game needs some reps as well. But yeah, no, I'd like to see a couple drives.
Now, to the last question I have for you, Nick. The offensive line, what is your confidence level, 0 out of 10, that Eric Bieniemy can scheme an offense to take as much weight as possible off this offensive line so they can be productive?
Ooh, I could take the easy way out and just say 5, just right in the middle there. But I'd say 4, and it's not really Bieniemy so much that
Okay.
I don't really trust that interior 3 yet. I mean,
Okay.
again, I'd have to see it to
That's
really
fair.
kind of. I don't think that they did enough there. And I've been wrong about the offensive line. 2 years ago, when I said they made too many switches, I thought it was a terrible idea, and they turned out to be one of the best offensive lines. Last year, I was like, all right, they should be good, and they were terrible. So honestly, odds are they're going to be great this year because I don't think they're going to be too good. So yeah, it's that interior 3. It was the interior 3 all of last year as well. You just need to stay healthy, really. I mean, you just need the same starting 5. That's kind of the best way to do it. Just kind of get each other. It's the same thing with the secondary. You just need to know who's next to you and know that you can trust that guy to do his job.
I totally agree with you, Nick. And I can't thank you enough for being able to talk to us tonight, be able to talk about training camp and the preseason game on Friday. Nick, before you get out of here, would you like to plug your social media handle, just in case anybody watching would like to come follow you and hasn't yet?
Yep, it's just Twitter at it's just X now at PFF underscore NICKAKRIDGE. Yeah, I'm gonna hopefully put out an article about Cam Curl here within the next couple of weeks. Got a bunch of articles on PFF about some quarterbacks, including Sam Howell. So,
Real
yeah.
quick, you're doing a write-up on Cam Curl. Just your opinion. I'm not saying to predict or anything. Do you think that Cam Curl will get a contract this season?
He better.
That's what
He
I'm saying.
better. He's so good, man. I've started the film now, and it's just
It's beautiful, isn't it?
it's like he doesn't do anything exceptionally well. He just does everything really like there are very few plays where he's misaligned, out of position, some sort of play like that. I'll talk. I don't want to ruin the article, but I'll talk about it in the article. So, but yeah, he's very good. They got to pay him. Pay the man. Pay the man.
He's all over the field.
Seventh
Pay the
round
man.
gem. Seventh round gem. Pay the man his money. He deserves it.
Pay it. Nick, I can't thank you enough, brother. Hope you go enjoy this evening, and hopefully your power stays on for you all throughout
Yeah,
the
so
game.
far so good.
All right, Nick. Have a good night, brother.
All right. See you, fellas.
All right, brother.
See,
All right, everybody. We just spoke with the man, Mr. Nick Akridge. I said brother again for the 16,000th time. What's up, Paul?
I saw that dude on YouTube comment. He was like, called him brother in three different times in 5 seconds.
It's just
I
one
was
of those
like,
nervous habits that I have, so my apologies. I got to get over that, and some I am working on and trying to do. But I did see the dude comment on the last YouTube video. He's like, dude, the show's scripted. You always said to
Yeah.
wrap this up, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I have to let the guests know. You don't understand because you probably haven't been here throughout the history of the show. We had a bad experience, and so we have to make sure we let the guests know that it's time to come. But that being said, dude, before we get into the fan questions, how excited are you about tomorrow morning? Going to training camp for the first time. It's salute day. I hope anybody that's coming, please, come reach out, talk to us. We'd love to be able to see you. Really excited about going tomorrow.
Yeah, first time going. I didn't go last year because was busy with some other stuff, had some other stuff going on. But yeah, first time going since 2021, and yeah, just excited. And it's even though it's not like an actual like game, there's like a game week on Friday, so they should be doing some like prep work as far as like a normal NFL week goes, like as far as like preparation for a game. So that'll be cool to see. But yeah, just pretty sights. First of all, I don't want to go to work tomorrow, so that's a sight.
Huge
But
size there.
but other than that, definitely sights to get out and see my team and see what they look like in person instead of just the videos everybody's always posting on Twitter.
Yeah, and being able to see the Colonel, obviously,
Yep.
hopefully Reed actually is able to make it out. I know. So basically, what happened is the connection because of the storm ruined it for him. It would not allow him to join. Reed, same thing. He doesn't have power right now where he is, so we're just hoping that he gets power on so he can join us. But let's get into our fan questions. And speaking of the Colonel Hall, he asks, why does the left guard position continue to be such a pain in the ass for us? It appears Chris Paul has overtaken oft-injured Sadiq Charles as the starter. So what happens when Chris Paul goes down? Whatever happened to all the so-called cross-training in multiple positions that would allow us to plug someone else in there, like Tyler Larson or Nick Gates?
Yeah, I mean, I think to work backwards from the question, I think those options are still on the table. A guy like maybe Strongberg can maybe step in and play some left guard if need be, since he's I guess technically third on the depth chart right now. But yeah, there's definitely guys that can step in with that positional flex that Ron Rivera and the Martys love so much with this team and with this with the guys on this team. So I definitely think there's guys there that can also step in. And as far as Sadiq and Chris Paul go, I do actually think that Chris Paul's getting the reps now because Sadiq has been banged up. But I do still think that this staff has it as Sadiq's job to lose at this point. So I mean, it's good that Chris Paul's getting the reps. But I think that, yeah, push him to shove. Unless Sadiq gets injured again and can't stay on the field, I do think it'll be Sadiq's job week one. But I wouldn't be surprised if Chris Paul pushes him and overtakes the job at some point early in the season.
This is a great question. And, I feel really bad for Sadiq Charles. It's like he jumped a security guard out on a boat dock, and then everyone just decided to jump in and go ham on him, But this is a fantastic question because this is what my biggest concern was, Colonel. When they brought in Nick Gates, they kept saying that he's a center, but we keep forgetting that he was a guard as well for the Giants. And yes, he was more productive as a center, but that was maybe the guard stuff was maybe before the injury. And so my big question here is, if there is a huge concern about that left guard spot, then why aren't you sliding Nick Gates over to left guard and allowing Tyler Larson to start? Tyler Larson is what? He's 6-0-1 as the starter last season as starting center. Why wouldn't you give him that ability? That gives you the best starting offensive line that you have possible. Now, that being said, there's obviously reasons for that. There's play calls at the line of scrimmage, and obviously Tyler Larson, I think, would be very good and comfortable with that. And that's one of my biggest concerns because it's like something that's being glossed over. Like, how come we aren't talking about Nick Gates playing left guard? Is it one of those things like with Landon Collins, where Landon Collins is like, I'm not playing linebacker, bro. I'm a safety. That's what I'm getting paid as. Are we in that same exact situation with Nick Gates? And that's concerning for me personally. But I trust that they'll make the right decision, and I trust that Eric Bieniemy will be able to make this offense run. I don't think that we're going to be the same guys as last year, like a punching bag on the offensive line, just letting teams go ham on us, tee off all day. I think we'll actually be able to counter it with some things. But that being said, we've talked a lot about Chris Paul in this podcast. We've had person after person come on here talk about how great he was of a player and very smart guy. And typically those type of individuals do very well at the next level. That's a great question, Colonel. I really do appreciate it. His next one, Hall. It appears the kicking battle is fairly even, with a slight edge to Joey Sly for having the stronger leg. Are we gonna go with consistency or distance in the kicking battle? That's a really good question.
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, I think you got to go with consistency at this point. Like, obviously, you're going to need the distance, and especially for a team that they don't know what they're going to be getting on the offensive end at this point going into the season. So maybe they have a couple red zone struggles early in the season, or they have a couple struggles offensively early in the season. They're going to need every single point you can get so that the defense can kind of take a little bit of pressure off the defense to kind of, like I said, pin their ears back, play loosely, and not feel like they gotta, if they make one mistake, the game is on them, or like the whole game rides on them solely. So I do think they're gonna go with consistency, even though I do love distance, because obviously, again, it would be great to have a guy that can hit some 50-yarders, which we haven't had a lot of in the past couple of years. But at this point, like I said, I just think consistency and just trying to rack up as many points as possible while the offense kind of finds its footing. Or maybe the offense comes out and fires on all cylinders. But if I had to guess, it's going to be a lot of ups and downs with the offense. So going to need as many points as possible so the defense can, like I said, not feel as much pressure. So I'll go with consistency.
See, you and I, my friend, right here. Because this is a trick question for me, right? You want the distance because let's say it's late in the fourth quarter, 30 seconds left. You want to have a kicker who could have this strong enough leg to the point where you don't have to get up to the 30 to kick a field goal, right? I mean, we kind of proved that with we saw that with Kansas City last year with Butker and others. It really is beneficial to have that guy. But that being said, the trick question of part of this is, where is the offense going to be majority at? Are they going to be majority in those long field goals in those crucial situations, or are they going to need those consistent points because they're not going to do well in the red zone? And that's where I would go with consistency, because you need those points. You shouldn't be kicking field goals, but regardless, if you do need to, you have to get them. And that's why consistency is probably better. But it's hard for me. We can't predict the future. So That being said, I'll go with consistency. And I'm sorry for that. I would go with leg if the kickoff game was the same as it was before. But they've essentially eliminated it. And at this point, the best thing that anybody can do is just kick the ball as high and let it drop on the 1 yard line. It allows those guys to come up there and actually make a play on the ball. And maybe something like Badgley can help with that. But jumping off of that, Tress Way has been injured. He looks like he has not injured. He has some tightness. And so he hasn't been practicing today. They brought some competition in at punter. Our best player, Hall. You concerned at all?
No, I'm not concerned. Tress, he's been consistent for us since the day he stepped on the field for us. So, I mean, hopefully, he's not going to be put out on the field a whole lot this season, or the team's not punting the ball like a bunch of times, however many times per game. So, hopefully, and then it's the preseason right now. You don't got to go to we all know what Tress Way is. We know who he is as a player. We don't need to put him out on the field during the preseason just to get a couple punts off and whatnot. Maybe against the Ravens if he's feeling better, but against Cleveland, let the guy chill, give him a vet rest game. And again, like I said, as long as he's out there week 1 through week 18 now, week 18, I'm happy with it because, like you said, he's one of our best players and he's the number 1 player in the league. And again, leading back to kind of like all three phases of the game, you're going to need a guy like Tress Way to be at his best and be 100% healthy so that he can pin opposing offenses deep in their own territory, which will help the defense out, which again will also help the offense out if the defense is getting 3-and-outs or causing turnovers for short field. So, yeah, I'm not worried about Tressway, and it sounds like Coach Ron isn't really worried about Tressway. So, if the training staff and Ron's not worried about it, I'm not going to be worried about it either right now.
I am concerned about it because that's our best player, man. To be perfectly honest with you, I'm just joking. I am concerned about Tress. I don't want Tress getting hurt because Tress has been pivotal for this football team, and he has that kind of accuracy with his leg that you cannot replicate. But that being said, I would like to see, Tress Way is an athlete. Would like to see a trick play with him this year. Maybe a throwing the ball or running. You never know. But Tress is one of those guys that is underrated athlete, and I feel like could do really well in those situations. Typically, those guys that kind of personality do really well in those kind of environments. Now, the next question, this is from Twitter. Our guy, the Commander's Call, who DM'd me this. Hey, man, with the new ownership in place and pledging to make upgrades to FedEx to make the fan experience better, if you could recommend one change specifically to the fan experience, what would it be, Hall?
I've said it once, and I'll say it again. Lower the beer prices. And the food prices for that as well. Like, just all the concessions. Like, obviously, you don't got to lower them.
You got to remember the tax that's on alcohol in specifically where we are at. It is anything that makes money, they're going to tax the hell out of.
Oh, yeah, of course. That's why you lower it a little bit so that even with the tax, it's still like – because right now, what are the beers like? $13, but you can only get – you only get like the 24-ounce joints. So, like – maybe if you don't even if you want to keep it 24 ounces, whatever, cool. But you get some other beers that are like 12 ounces, something like that. So people don't have to just automatically pay $13 to $15, whatever it might be for a beer. Maybe I want to pay like $6, $7 for a beer, something like that. So maybe that, and like I said, maybe lower some of the food prices.
Let's be honest here. The only reason Hall's saying this is because he wants to shotgun beers. That's
exactly
the only reason why he's saying this.
Hey, me and 10,000 other people. I'm just saying.
You're right. If I could say one thing, recommend one change specifically to the fan experience, what would it be? Change the red zone lot to the Burgundy zone lot. What's up, dude? That would make everyone's fan experience so much better. I'm telling you. Now, I think that
I agree.
I think they've done a good job up until this point of making changes. They've added and solidified some things that they needed to. Getting new speaker system, obviously, still installed. I like what they've done, but we've kind of talked about the concessions and other things like that. I'm not sure what really else they can do because I don't know what they have to put in it. But I will.
I'm excited to see the new board that they're going to put up. Yes. That's going to be
But without a doubt, Commander's Call, to answer your question seriously, it's the intro, the walk up to the field. Virginia Tech, I'm a huge fan of, and obviously everyone knows it's nationally, globally known as one of the best entrances to any sport, and that's something you kind of want to replicate. It's something you want to actually build up and derive into, and you want that because it creates a spectacle of it. People want to come embrace it. They want to actually see it and be surrounded by it, and that's something that we have to really look into in creating that home field advantage. Again, there has to be a little a little something for us to hang our hat on. So change it to the Burgundy zone lot and then a new actual fundamental good intro. That would be fantastic. Now the next question off Twitter from Deuce Alicious. Why would the new ownership group step in it and cause a hesitation for fans to buy Commanders gear by first saying the old name a bunch of times and then not squashing this name stuff in the bud? Seems financially a step on your own pecker move we are also used to seeing.
Yeah, I think they kind of explained it like when they say Redskins and they talk about they're talking about the team that they loved and grew up with, and they're referring to the teams of the past, the glory years, and just giving a shout out and giving a what do you call it, I don't know, just a shout out to them, giving praise to them from being legendary Redskins, they played for the Redskins back in the day. So. And then, like I said, Josh Harris has already said that that's a team he grew up loving, and Ron came out and said it whenever they do use the term Redskins and talk about the past days, they talk of or is using like the most utmost respect, whatever, blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, as far as like the merchandise goes, I mean, just because people on Twitter are talking about, oh, no one likes the Commanders gear and blah 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 blah. Trust me, I'm out in public a lot. I'm around DC at job sites, Virginia. People rock Commanders gear, so definitely people are still buying stuff. Maybe obviously not as much as Redskins stuff, and maybe not even as much as Washington football team stuff. But people are still buying the gear. And look, the name's probably 98% sure it's not coming back because of the whole corporate sponsorship thing. So people can sign as many petitions and do this and do that, but unless the people signing the petition are going to be sponsoring them with millions of dollars in corporate sponsorship money and whatnot, or going to somehow bring in corporate sponsorships to add to the petition, then the name's not coming back. And will it change? More than likely, yes, unless they start winning games and people kind of adjust to it. But at the end of the day, I'm not worried about is like the merchandise and the gear. Just win football games, and everything else will line itself up and fall into place.
Yeah, Deuce. I will say this. I don't really care about this subject. I'm so tired of it. But you bring up a good point. Why would the ownership group create this problem for themselves? But who's saying that they created this problem for themselves, right? Because the issue is them being asked the question, and it's not like they're saying an open no or yes, right? And because they're trying to stay in the middle, they don't want to piss any of the side off. But I will say this, we have to remember back to when Elon Musk bought Twitter. Bot farms were a big issue with how much he was buying Twitter for. You can have all the signatures you want on Twitter. It doesn't mean anything. It's very easy to make an email address. It's very easy to make a Twitter account and go submit your signature in there. Anybody can do it. So I don't put that much validity into it. But I do question what the heck is going on. Because like you said, we heard Deuce last week on here say, like, I've stopped buying merchandise, right? There's got to be other people like him out there.
Of course.
You want to buy me a gift of Commanders gear? I'll freaking wear it. I got a gift card from the Colonel. I had a $50 gift card. I was like, I'm about to buy something Commanders, baby. I was all sized. And Katie was like, can you buy something practical? I was like, okay, I'll buy new work boots, But that sort of thing. And it's funny to where we're at because they could easily squash this right now and just be like, no, we're not doing it, whatever have you. But somebody made a very good point on Twitter, out of all places, a very smart point. They said nobody likes his Commander's name, but then when you see all the videos from training camp, everyone's rocking Commander's gear.
Right.
So
exactly.
Is it really that big of an issue? No, man, it's not.
It's kind of like, to your point, like, is it actually a problem because they keep bringing up the name and they're making a problem for themselves? Or are they having great marketing, forward thinking to be like, what was the reason why part of the fan base left other than Dan Snyder and all the losing and all the ridiculous scandals and all the off the field stuff? It's because they changed the name. So maybe if I start mentioning the name and talking about the name and talking about the glory days, maybe some of those fans that were all pissed about the name changing from Redskins, they're like, oh, at least he's acknowledging the Redskins. At least he's talking about them. Maybe I will give him a chance, and maybe I'll come back and give the new guys a chance. So maybe they're actually, like I said, making a smart marketing move for themselves.
We'll end this with this, Deuce. All I'll say is this was their coming to party for the NFL and in the DC region, and how things get warped, how things get manipulated and pushed, and this was their coming into it. So you definitely see what it's like for Josh Harris and company, and they're starting to get the handle on it because this isn't Pittsburgh, Mr. Harris. I know you were in Philly with the 76ers, but that being said, it is not the kind of media conglomerate that you are dealing with here in DC. Next question.
How you want to get the fans' attention? Buy them a beer your first day on the job and mention the Redskins name a couple times, and people were like, yeah, I love this guy.
Very well said, sir. You're very intelligent. Next question from Andy Burrows. On a scale of 1 to 10, how do you see our O-line holding up? We know what we are like with injuries in DC. Do you feel we have enough depth?
I will say I don't think we have enough depth because a lot of it is unproven talent and depth right now. And as far as my how I feel about them, will they hold up? Scale of 1 to 10. I'm at a 4 right now, but it can jump up to a 6 depending on how they look in this Cleveland game and maybe if you can jump even higher than a 6, depending on how they look with these joint practices against the Ravens and against the Ravens in the second preseason game. But right now, I'll go with a 4 only because there's 4 new starters, and yeah, they're kind of unknowns outside of like a guy like Charles Leno, who a lot of people have been killing Charles Leno, including me a little bit too, from last year, towards the end of the season. But he literally, like JP Finley, just did an interview with him last week, and JP even came out and was just like, "Look, I saw you in the locker room like every day after every single game, blah blah blah." He was like, "I didn't want to put it out there because you never said it, but I knew how banged up you were, and that kind of like obviously diminished some of his play." And then Leno told a story about how he just had a newborn, and like his wife was taking a video of him walking down the stairs, and he literally couldn't even lift up his 4-pound like newborn baby because like his shoulder or whatever else was so torn up. So, with that being said, he still played through it. We know what Charles Leno represents. He's always going to be out there no matter what, knock on wood. And hopefully he's 100% healthy again this year. He gets back to the solid Charles Leno that he is. But across the board on the other guys, like Nick said, the interior guys are a question mark. And what's Andrew Wiley going to look like post no Mahomes in Kansas City? So I'll go with the 4, long story short.
I'll go with a 6, and the reason why I'm going with the 6 is more so because of who they face every day in practice. With the front 4 that we have, it's kind of a, obviously iron sharpens iron. It's been beaten to the death by now, but it's truly a real thing. We're having to go against that every day and then go against somebody new. Obviously, it's the NFL. You're going to have freak of natures on every single defensive line, but as a group, it kind of just gears you into what is expected. But the depth, I am concerned with. I trust wholeheartedly in Charles Leno. I trust Chris Paul if he wins that job. I trust Andrew Wiley, and I trust Sam Cosmi. But the issue is I don't trust injuries, and they seem to be rearing their ugly head once again. So if you could stay healthy and consistent, I'm at a 6. But then when those injuries start coming, it's going to diminish a lot. You know what I'm saying? Last question we have from Twitter, brother. This is Yam Sensei, our boy. What's up, Yami? He asks, what have I missed? I tried catching up on my ride home from my trip. It sounds like Howell is up and down. Chase may be back, and Samuel is back on the sideline.
Yeah, I mean, it's early. It's like the middle of training camp. It's early, just getting to the preseason. Obviously, guys like Logan Thomas, Curtis Samuel, who have injury history with this team before, feeling a little bit of tightness. So I'd rather be a little bit cautious with those guys because I want them out there week 1 and beyond during the regular season. I'm not really worried about training camp reps and practice as of right now and like a first preseason game. But yeah, as long as they're out there week 1 and beyond, healthy, ready to go, I'm cool with them kind of taking like a chill day, a couple chill days here and there, or for the past couple days. And I think Curtis Samuel's back out there today, so that's good. But yeah, Hal, as expected, like you said, up and down for a guy that's basically a rookie starter going into his first year fully starting. Surprisingly, outside of like the offensive line and everything like that, this is new for us Washington fans. There's really not been any like drama or like controversy or anything really going on. So you've missed a lot,
Crazy.
but as far as like the normal Washington offseason goes, you ain't really missed a lot.
No, you haven't. One thing that you have missed is just the constant battles as happened every day. The defense has been winning, but should be expected. The offense is kind of just in their experimental mode, where the defense is just sitting in their normal coverages. They're not doing anything too elaborate, and they kind of know what's coming. And so if you've played football, you know this, that in practice, you know the offensive plays that are coming. They're generally...
Used to love scout team. Used to go playing defense against scout team offenses. Like, yeah, I'm about to shine.
One of the funniest stories I've ever, like, it's not funny to tell, but one of the funniest times I've ever had in the football field was during a scout practice. Somebody on the other side, it was absolutely hysterical. But Sam Howell bouncing back and forth, trying to get better on this defense. Obviously, the secondary coming into their own, but you're seeing kind of a maturation and the kind of, obviously you're going to have hiccups in the chippiness of practice, but that is to be expected. You missed Terry McLaurin standing up for his boys and John Bates when Benjamin St. Juste decided to flex on a little bit, because I understand what Terry is saying. There is no reason for you to be standing over him disrespecting John Bates, dude. That is your teammate. And look,
I think it was Cole Turner.
It was Cole Turner? I saw a tweet that said John Bates. Well, I hope it wasn't Cole, because Cole's a really nice kid, but it's like, is Cole Turner the type of dude that's going to be up in your face talking crap to you, Benjamin? You know what I'm saying? Like, that seems like pent-up frustration over something. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe he saw that, maybe Benjamin St. Juice saw that that jumping video of the security guard. Maybe got him all flustered. Not really sure. But first question we have. This is from Tim Towner. On the road to Ashburn. So it's a travel question. It feels like all prognostications leave us with a terrible record, in part due to our travel schedule. The toughest being at New England, at New York Jets, at the Rams, and at the Seahawks. Which, if any of these, do you figure they can win?
I'll say the Patriots game is the first one that comes to mind, just because that's not an offense that really scares you as far as like weapons on the other side of the ball. And I feel like with a guy like Mac Jones, who's not really mobile, if the defensive line is playing to what we know they're capable of, that should be a game where I'm not going to go as crazy as to say the Carson Wentz game where they got like 6-7 sacks or whatever it was the first game of the season a couple years ago. But I could definitely see a couple sacks for the defensive line or for the defense in the whole, just because
it's a typical Saturday for you.
Yeah, a lot of sacks. Yeah, it's because he's not a mobile guy. So
it's not
but
fun
again,
to make fun of you.
But then you look at Bill Belichick's record against young quarterbacks, so that it kind of makes you like, But I would say just because I think our offense is better than our offense, and I think the defenses kind of cancel each other out. So I'll say the Patriots game. The Jets game I think it's like week 13. So you would just assume by then there's going to be some injuries, whether on our side or their side. So, and we usually play good against Aaron Rodgers. So I will say that, and that'll be Terry McLaurin's coming out party to show that he is actually better than Garrett Wilson. And so I'll say maybe the Jets game, but I'll give them 2 out of the 4 that maybe possibly could win. But again, for this team beats teams they shouldn't win, or they win games they shouldn't win all the time, and they lose games that they should win all the time. So they could end up beating the Seahawks and whoever else and then losing to the Patriots and the Rams or something like that. So
yeah, look, and the reason why he made that Garrett Wilson comment is because him and I were arguing in our one group chat because I thought it was ridiculous that Garrett Wilson, the same exact circumstance that Terry has been in his entire year, in his rookie year, having less stats, worse stats, was put ahead of Terry McLaurin. It's blasphemy. It's ridiculous. But at this point, can we just acknowledge the fact that you're just doing this based on just kids and just trying to get as much, I don't know, energy about these sort of things and stop making it like a fundamental, this is what is 100% true? Because it's not. You're just pumping dudes up just to sell things. I get it, but it is what it is. I will say this, Tim. I think they can win all 4. At New England, at the Jets, at the Rams, and the Seahawks. The Seahawks are a very good football team. Very underrated, obviously. But Washington can compete with them. They can play on that defense. They can run the ball down their throat. I'm really excited to see how they shape out against Geno because I have a lot of respect for him and his resurgence in his career. And then New England, I think you broke that down really well. The Jets, I don't respect the Jets at all. Very little. And then the Rams, unfortunately, the Rams kind of, everyone talked about trading away all your assets like the Rams. Well, look at them now. And the fact is that nobody is even considering them to be a top dog anymore. And it's how quickly the mighty fall.
If you get a Super Bowl out of it, you'd be sized. You wouldn't even be caring about all the stuff you traded away.
I'm just saying.
I know. But I didn't really think about that because, like, obviously the Rams are going to be better this year because healthy Stafford. I know Cooper Kupp's injured right now, but you would assume healthy Cooper Kupp, a healthy Aaron Donald coming back. But I just, like you said, I just feel like, and then I re-energized Sean McVay, who's obviously a great offensive mind, but I just feel like they're one of them teams where, like you said, they got to the height where they wanted to get to, and it's just kind of been slowly but falling, and now they got to try to get it back up again. So, get it back up
like
again.
a 70-year-old man.
Like a Reed Saturday night. But, so I can see 2 of the games, but maybe even 3, like you said, or 4.
I think this is a good football team, man. I think we should stop selling them short, you know. Now, this next question from the Discord chat, from our guy Scott Hartley in the UK. Oi! Yankee Scott. His question is, what do you think the identity of this team is now? And has it changed with changes in OC and quarterback? And are we a run-first team or a play-action, RPO-driven team?
As of right now, because we don't know how the offense is going to look, I'll say we're none of those options. I will say that we're a defensive team that is going to rely on tough physical defense, turning the ball over, setting up the opportunities for the offense. And again, I guess technically, if you want to like look at Bieniemy, like the system he's going to run and how it's going to be used, I guess it'll be like a mix of like some RPO slash like a running team that is going to work off of like the RPO and the run game. But like I said, offense right now is a question mark. So I'll say that we're a defensive minded team that is going to be a physical, just ruthless, savage team that is going to get after the quarterback and try to force turnovers. So I'll go defensive as of right now.
The identity of this team right now is a group of young men beating up a bunch of white dudes who jumped a security guard that was standing by himself. That's going to be us versus Daniel Jones. That's going to be Daniel Jones up there trying to beat up the security guard. Here comes John Allen.
Beat up by the D line.
Yeah, John Allen swimming across the water. Come over and jump him. But to be perfectly honest, dude, I want the image of this football team to be like the Inglorious Bastards. Obviously, the Quentin Tarantino film. They're not respected. They're not seen as high or such, but they have the tools in order to strangle and beat. Like literally, our defense should strangle the offense to death while our offense is over top beating the crap out of their face with touchdowns. And that's the way this football team should be driven. I'm not sure about the RPO. I would guess that the RPO is going to be heavily utilized. You got to be able to use those a lot. But that being said, the one thing about Eric Bieniemy is that he's adaptive. He doesn't just go to one sort of thing. The RPO could be 1 week, and then the play, and then just typical single play action could be the next week. It's all based on what the defense offers, and that's what the genius of having somebody like Eric Bieniemy is. Not just his attitude, but the smarts and being able to adapt given the situation that he's presented. And I think that learning under Andy Reid, I think those little minute details are very, very important here. So honestly, I think the identity of this football team is do whatever the heck it takes to get it done.
That's a good answer.
Now, next question is from Alid. Do you think we are an LT, a left tackle, away from being a contender in the playoffs?
No. We need more than a left tackle at this point. Like again,
Well,
I mean,
that would bring up the point. What do we need then?
Yeah, like an elite left tackle obviously would be great, but we've been pretty good with like an average or slightly above average left tackle in Charles Leno. So an elite left tackle, yes, would be great, like another Trent Williams, but that's not going to be like what pushes us over the top to like be a Super Bowl contender or win a Super Bowl. I would say that what we do need is we need Sam Howell to be above average. We need a quarterback. Obviously, like this roster has been built up to the point where I know people want to like talk about, back after the was it last year or Taylor Heineke year, whatever year it was, where he said the roster's built up, we just got to drop the quarterback in, and then they came out and like didn't make the playoffs, and everyone was like, But I know. So now I think the roster is actually like outside of the offensive line has questions, but outside of the offensive line, everywhere else on the team, I think is pretty set as far as like above average NFL talent or better, and with a quarterback that could elevate not only the players around him, but the offensive line as well, and the defense. And so that they can actually play with a lead and like, pin their ears back and actually get after the quarterback late in games. I think that, if Sam Howell's that guy, then we're there. But if not, then we're still searching for that quarterback to get us over the hump.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I will say this. I don't think that we are a left tackle away. I don't think that like Charles Leno did very well last season. Obviously, we could talk about the Giants game. I was hard on him for that Giants game, but obviously there's other things going on. And one game does not eliminate what you did for an entire season. That's very unfair to do to somebody. And Charles Leno was obviously pivotal. If you don't have a starting left tackle in this football league, you're in a very bad position, i.e. the Cowboys. But that being said, I think like you hit it on the nail. You hit the nail on the head, Hall. If there's anything you could say that plagued this football team of the past 3 seasons to take them away from playoff contention, it's staying healthy at quarterback. Having consistency at quarterback is number one. All these other teams do it, and they ask Ron Rivera, what is the difference between you and the Giants? Oh, I don't know. They have a consistent starter at quarterback. oh, now you're saying quarterback? But like that's what he was trying to say. We haven't had a consistent quarterback play here. And I think that goes farther than having an all-pro better left tackle to get you in the playoffs. If we can get 17 games out of Sam Howell behind this offensive line with the playmakers we have, I think this is a very formidable unit and can win playoff games. Just me point blank, I'm not trying to be a homer about it. I just think this team is a lot better than people give them credit for, specifically because of the injuries that have happened to quarterback over the years. You know, it is what it is. Next question from Big Tony Shivers. Oh, this is your boy. Do you think Apke finds a way to somehow stay on the team again?
Well, I'll say no because they just put him on IR. So, I mean, I don't know if it's like season ending. I don't think it's season ending IR, but I guess technically he comes back from IR and like gets off IR. He can like still make the roster somehow, be a practice squad guy. I mean, look, people bag on him, but
everyone hates on Apke like he beat up a security guard on a boat. You know,
I know, man. Like he's like literally like
like
the dude they just got his Crocs like ripped through his foot and shit. Like, but you see that picture? The dude's Crocs are like at his knees. I was like, God damn.
Did you see the one video of the guy when he said that he didn't expect a 6-year-old dude to throw hands?
Yeah, he's like, man, 65-year-old dude can throw hands.
That's what the young dudes say that about white dudes too. My Uncle Gene, dude. Remember that story about him down in D.C. beating up that young dude?
Yeah.
Hey, don't play with the old heads, bro.
Yeah, but now I don't even remember what the question was originally.
Do you think Apke stays on the?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, he's like a little gnat. You try to swat him away, he just keeps flying back. I mean, in the best way possible, like, you know.
Dude,
but no, I mean, look,
all he did was just get drafted here, and everyone just craps on him.
I know. Look, he's a good special teams player at the end of the day. So I mean, he's just one of them players where like he's on your roster, so you're just like, damn, I hope we don't get injured, so he has to get on the field. But he's also good at his job, which is a special teams guy. So I wouldn't be surprised if they bring him back because, like, obviously the special teams coach loves him. So. Yeah, hopefully he gets healthy, get off IR, and get back on the squad.
A lot of people would argue about it.
Just not on the defense.
A lot of people will argue with you about him being good at his job. But that being said, we're not going to sit here and do that. Next question from Andy Lockhart. Who do you think will be the last 2 wide receivers to stay on the team if we are keeping 6 wide receivers only? As the first 4 are lock. Obviously, Terry, Jahan, Curtis Samuel, and Diami Brown. So I would leave 2 spots left.
I will say Byron Pringle gets one of the spots because he knows Eric Bieniemy knows the offense, and he can be that deep, speedy, deep threat that would be beneficial to the offense. And you're going to be surprised at this answer because I hate on him 24/7. But I'll say Dax Milne just because he's even just Ron Rivera came out and said it today that the last position for the wide receiver on the roster is going to come down to everyone's favorite phrase, position flex, as in what can you do for me on kick return, punt return, or special teams. And obviously, as much as I hate on Dax Milne, he is reliable. He can catch the ball. He gets to the sideline as fast as he can. And that's better than getting somebody back there that can't catch the ball or drops the ball.
You while you have to admit that.
I know. It's really like paining me. I can't even like get it out in like full sentences. But no, I mean, look, Dax Milne, and again, look, he makes catches here and there during the regular season as well. So he's a below average slot receiver that can get you a couple catches here and there. But really, his what he does in the punt return game, as far as like catching the ball and just making sure that the offense has the ball after the punt is kind of paramount. So the 6th spot, even though I think a guy like Kaz Allen can maybe step in and get it, I'll say Dax Milne for right now until I see something from Kazmir Allen.
Yeah, look, I understand your point, and I think Dax Milne is really going along with Byron Pringle. The only question I would have to anybody that really would have an issue with Dax Milne making this football team for the 53, it shouldn't be that hard to overtake Dax Milne, to be perfectly honest with you. Now, what we've heard in camp is that Dax Milne is catching passes from Sam Howell in 11-on-11. Have you heard that about Mitchell Tinsley? Have you heard that about Kaz Allen? And I haven't seen that as much as I've seen Dax Milne. I think you're right on par with it. I think Byron Pringle is very important and could be productive for this football team in the middle of the field, being that short yardage kind of wide receiver, that big target, almost like a tight end, without taking away your vertical ability and being able to stretch the field. So you can bring Byron Pringle in, hit him vertically, but also be that big target in the middle of the field for Sam Howell in those empty sets. So it's almost like a hybrid wide receiver, tight end, and Byron Pringle, and that's very, very productive and useful for a team. All right, everybody, that's going to wrap us up for this episode. I appreciate you for joining us, Hall. I didn't think that you were going to make it.
Yeah, my Wi-Fi was not trying to cooperate with me, but eventually got on.
The listeners, honestly, thank you, because I couldn't be able to do it. I don't know how long we would have stayed on here. People probably would have been gouging their eyes out. But I'm really excited to be able to go to training camp tomorrow. Please, if you guys haven't, if you got day off, if you want to just come out and hang, man, let's come watch some Commanders football. Let's sit back and chill. It's salute day at Commanders camp, so let's come down. Let's hang out. I know Tony Shivers is coming. Excited to see him. Tim Towner and his wife are coming. My old man, the Colonel. Reed, hopefully, will be able to make it down here if he doesn't get abducted by aliens or something. We never know with him. But really excited to be able to go there tomorrow. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. I'm Kyle.
I got to say this before we get off of here. Our good friend Warren Sharp came out with another list today.
Oh, no. And
somehow, some way, he did another ranking of the wide receivers and the tight end group as a whole. And Tyler Brickner, because you're not Warren Sharp, you're Tyler Brickner. Tyler Brickner. I don't know what Washington did to you as a guy growing up in Virginia. I don't know what happened to you here. Like, who hurt you as a Washington fan, maybe? But stop hating on the Commanders, bro, because there's no way in hell that the Bears wide receiver group and tight end group is better than this team's wide receiver group and tight end group. And that's all I'm going to say. I'm Hall. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
I like that a lot, man. You should voice those frustrations more. I will say this. I'm very disappointed to hear Sam Howell grew up a fan of the Cowboys. It makes a lot of sense why he doesn't eat red meat now. So I'll stop questioning it. It makes sense. But one day maybe he'll mature and actually become a Commanders fan and realize that you shouldn't be rooting for the bad guys and come over to this side and whoop their ass a little bit. All right, everybody. We'll see you on Thursday. If not, possibly we'll, depending on what happens tomorrow, how crazy practice is, we'll be doing a recap from our practice tomorrow, and then we'll also see you on Thursday. So if you'd like to see the recap tomorrow, please let us know. Love to hear your thoughts. All right, everybody. Have a great, fantastic week. We'll see you guys tomorrow or Thursday. Washington football. Woo! What's up, everyone? This is Kyle from the Burgundy Zone. We are releasing our own merch to support the show. If you want to rock the Burgundy Zone logo or you want to see Reed's face on your shirt, we got it. We're starting with t-shirts, hoodies, and zip-up. So if you're a fan of the show, make sure you snag one before they are gone. Check out the link in our bio on Instagram, or you can find the link in the description of the video. Thanks again for all your support. Until next time.